Hello friends, welcome to your own YouTube channel Achievers Data Engineering. My name is Gyanendra and in this video we are going to talk about text analytics in Power BI. We are going to cover what is text analytics and we will see how can we perform a real-time analytics using artificial intelligence features within Power BI using Azure Cognitive Services. We already have got an Amazon product review dataset on which we will perform a live text analytics and we will see end to end what are the steps, what are the best practices, and what should we keep in mind while performing text analytics. So without any further ado, let's get started. All right, so what is text analytics? In general, when we prepare some visualization, they are most of the time based on some numbers where we have got some numbers and we perform high level aggregation to come up with some more numbers, some KPIs, and we plot the visuals in our reports. However, when it comes to text analytics, we don't get the exact numbers. We are talking about a free form text that we need to analyze, understand, and need to identify some outcomes from that. So in general, if we say text analytics is a process in which we use computing processes from a system where we try to identify some patterns, some trends, or some keywords from a free form human written text. Now, why do we use text analytics? Basically, we need to discover some patterns. So for example, let's say you talk about a product on the Amazon, people must be giving a lot of review there. And based on those reviews, we can identify some patterns, whether product is going good in the market, whether it is going bad in the market, or is there any common scenario or any common issue that has been faced by everyone. So we can identify some, pattern based on the text analytics. We can enhance the customer experience based on whatever outcomes we are, finding based on the text analytics. We can proactively identify some risks and fix them. And obviously, if we have a text analytics process in place like text analytics in Power BI, we can reduce the manual efforts of taking a look on each review one by one and finding some outcome, which is really a tedious task. Alright guys, so let's directly jump on the dataset that we are going to use to perform text analytics. I've already got a CSV dataset. As I mentioned, is nothing but an Amazon product review, which is taken from the Amazon test dataset. And I'll just introduce you with what is the data so that we can proceed further. There are so many columns. Just to keep it simple, I'll retain a few columns only which we need in order to perform that analysis. And I'll explain you what is the data and review date. And the most important column, this one, and I'll just go ahead and remove the columns. Okay, so let's see what we have got. So the first column that we have is nothing but it's a product ID. Second column is the product name itself. Third is product category, whether it's an electronic product or it's a book or what it is. Then a review date, when a review was added, and the final column that we are going to use is the review itself. So all the analytics that we need to perform, all the analysis that we will go through will be performed on this reviews column itself. So let's get started. In order to proceed further and perform our analysis, what we need to do is first we will select the column on which we need to perform the analysis. And on the home page, on the home ribbon within the query editor, you would see there is a text analytics option. Now all these three options that you see in the query editor, these options are AI features provided within Power BI. We will talk about all of them maybe in the separate video also, but right now let's talk about text analytics. The moment I'll click on this, a new window will pop up. It might take some time for the first time if you are opening it. Meanwhile it is loading, let's talk about some other stuff here. If you'll go through this documentation provided by Microsoft, you would notice this particular text analytics and vision features available within Query Editor are providing these services, or we can say these services are currently supported, and I'm hopeful in future they might introduce a few more features within Power BI. Now what it is, let's talk about them one by one. First one is image tagging. So image tagging is nothing but, let's say you have a lot of images. So Power BI will be able to identify what is there in the image and accordingly it will provide a text. So for example, you have a workstation image, so it will be able to identify there is a laptop, there is a table in this image, and it will provide a tag accordingly. Now this particular feature, language detection, is it will be able to identify the language used in a review. So for example, if we talk about the review column in our dataset right now, the moment we will pass that column to the text analytics feature, it will be able to identify whether it is in English, Hindi, or French, or whatever language is used in that column. Then key phrase extraction. Now there's so many words provided within the review which may not be useful. We need to analyze some key phrases within the review, and accordingly we can perform the analysis. So this particular AI feature provide the key phrase extraction from the review, and once we have got the key phrases, finally we can do some sentimental analysis. I'll just show you in a step-by-step process. Okay, so here you might have noticed we have got the same three options here. First one says detect a language, in which we can just select the detect language and pass a column. Let it load. Meanwhile it is loading, I'll just explain. The extract key phrase. So once we will get the language of a particular column, we will be able to extract some key phrases, and accordingly we will provide some scores. So let's select the text column, which is already selected. I'll just hit OK. Let me go back to Power BI. It will just take few minutes. It will do some processing in the background, and it will identify what is the language of that particular review. And it's not performed on the high level, it's performed on the each column itself. Now, one important thing, once you will do it for the first time, it will ask for this pop-up. It says information is required about data privacy. Now, why it is done is because, as I mentioned, this text analytics is an AI feature, and as we saw in the document, these features are supported by Azure Cognitive Services. Okay, so what is Cognitive Services? Cognitive Services is a algorithm written by Microsoft Azure. So they have done a lot of R&D. They have done a review of so many data sets available in the market, and accordingly, based on artificial intelligence, they have trained our data. They have trained a model and prepared some APIs. Now, when we use this feature within Power BI, in the backend, it calls that API. So whatever data that we want to analyze using this feature, that data will be pushed to it will be pushed to Azure Cognitive Services, and that's why we need to give our acceptance that we want to ignore the privacy level here. So the moment you will check this and click on save, it will start doing the processing. So just let's wait for a few seconds while it is loading. Alright, so it has done processing, and if you notice, it has automatically created two new columns. The first column says detect language, detected language name, which is nothing but the English, and the same language we have got a code. So this code is an ISO code for the same language. So in case of English, it says EN. Now, once we have got the language, detected language for that review, we will proceed to the next step in the text analytics. So let's again wait for a few seconds while it is opening. Okay, great. Now we have got those three options back. So in the first step, we detected a language from that reviews.text column. Now in the next step, what we are going to do is extract the key phrases. Now what it will do is it will extract whatever the column that we are going to pass, which is nothing but reviews.text. It will extract some key phrases. So providing an language type is an optional here, because we have already identified that as a part of first step. We don't need necessarily to pass it here. I'll just select that column here and hit OK. Again, it's gonna take few minutes, few seconds, depending upon the data volume that you have and the length of the reviews, and accordingly it will extract the key phrases. So I'm just going to pause the video while it is processing, and then we'll start again. All right, finally it is done processing, and if you notice on the screen, similar to the first step, again it has added two new columns. The first one says extract key phrases, and the another one is extract key phrase. Right now, if I go ahead and select the first review, you will be able to find out the all those key phrases which got extracted here. It's there in the review. For example, small paper, palm, and small, and paper white. It has removed some stopping words. Now what is stopper words, I'll just explain at the end. Again, one more thing you might notice here, in the first column it has added all the phrases. For example, there are small paper, regular Kindle, palm, and paper white, and in the next column same words are added in a different row. Now it depends, and it's up to us at what level we want to perform the analysis. As if you talk about the best practices, the smaller key phrase, the better result. However, in this scenario we will get so many duplicates. If we have a lengthy review, there are so many words, then we will get so many rows for the same review. So for this analytics, for this process right now, just to keep it simple, I'm going to remove this column which contains details at the row level. I'll just go ahead and remove this column, and we will continue with the extract key phrases, which contains all the key phrases from a review in a same column and in the same row. Now we will proceed for our third step. Again, we will click on the text analytics, and let's wait for a few more seconds so that option can come again. Cool. So now we'll go ahead and click on score sentiment, and again it will ask for a column and language ISO code, which is an optional. Now in this case, when it comes to getting an score sentiment, instead of selecting that review column itself, we are going to select the key phrase that we have extracted, because this key phrase column is prepared by Cognitive Services itself, and it has automatically removed some special characters and some unwanted words, and we have got the proper key phrases based on which we can analyze the dataset. Now I'll just select the column and hit OK. Again, it is going to take minutes or seconds depending upon the volume of data. So let's wait for a couple of seconds more. Alright, so finally, after waiting a couple of seconds, it has added one more column with the name of score sentiment in this data set. Now, in this column, if you notice, there are some numbers provided. These numbers are nothing but the percentage values. So for example, the first value that we see 0.5 is nothing but the 50%. Once we will convert it into percentage. Now, point to be understood is I have not manually entered or provided these numbers. These numbers are pre-calculated based on the trained model within Azure Cognitive Services, and once we push this data for the text analytics using that Cognitive Services, it has provided this sentiment score. Now using this score itself, we are going to prepare a conditional column that will say whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, and we will perform further analysis based on that. So let's go ahead and add a new column here. Alright, I'll just go ahead and click on add column and say conditional column. Simple condition that I want to give here is to define positive, negative, and neutral based on the percentage score that we have got. So first I'll rename this column as, let's say, sentiment. Alright, then I'll say if score sentiment is less than or equals to, I'll say 0.25, then I'll make it as negative. Then I'll say if score sentiment is greater than or equals to 0.75, then I'll consider it positive, else I'll say it's neutral. Now it's up to us, as per our specification or business rules or scores, we can define these scores and provide negative, positive, or neutral. It's just something I'm defining as per my understanding. And let's wait for the processing while it is adding that new column. While it is loading, let's talk about so far what we have experienced in this text analytics is we identified what is topic labeling. Means based on the review we were able to extract some key phrases, and we were able to identify the topic labels. For example, when we extracted the key phrases, it added two columns. One, the phrases everything in a single column, and another one was all the topics in a different in the different row in the same column. That is called topic labeling. It same applies when it comes to providing some tagging on the images. Now key phrase extraction that we just identified, we just passed that review column and it was able to identify the key phrases and was able to extract and create a new column. And finally, sentiment analysis, that we were able to define a score, and based on the score we were able to provide a column that will say whether it is positive, negative or neutral. Now there are a few more things that we need to consider while we are going to perform a text analytics. We need to follow these best practices. Number one says remove stop words. Now what is stop words? Stop words are simply the words which doesn't add some real value in the context of analysis. So for example, if you are writing any statement, let's say this is a car or this is a good car. Now in this good and car might be some key phrases that will add some sentiment value to this statement. However, this doesn't add any real value. So in this case, these kind of words are stop words, and if we are going to perform any sentimental analysis, then we should consider removing such words. Now another one is normalize text. Normalize text by removing the special characters, punctuations and other characters that can hinder analysis. So sometimes there are special characters like @ trademarks, copyright, comma, parentheses, brackets. So these kind of special characters won't add any value, so it's better we should remove them proactively. Now tokenization. Split text into individual units, words or phrases to facilitate further analysis. Now best thing of this cognitive services as a part of text analysis within Power BI which we performed is all these things, all these three topics are proactively considered by text analytics feature, and it takes care of all these things proactively in the background. Okay, let's get back to Power BI. If that column, okay, this column is successfully added. That's all we need till here when it comes to performing text analytics within Power BI. I'll just go ahead and click on close and apply, and while it is all right, all data is got loaded and applied. Now we'll just go ahead and create some quick visualization. Now when it comes to creating a text analytics visualization, the first one that we should always prefer is the word cloud. I'll just go ahead and take the word cloud chart type, and we can pick extract key phrases column, and let's wait for the magic. So now as you might aware, based on keywords available in this entire key phrases column, it will create a cloud of the words, and based on the accuracy of that particular word, we will be able to see that that particular word is being is there with the bigger font. Now what we can do is, let me add some quick slicers. Just go ahead and pick the product category, and let's make it drop down, and we'll add one more. Okay, and let's say instead of category I'll say sentiment. Now let's do a quick review. Let's say if I'm selecting an electronics product and I want to see the positive feedback, then you'll see great word is repeated most of the time, and tablet. So based on the current data, based on the current product review that we can identify is, when it comes to electronics products, the positive sentiment, customers are mostly happy with the tablet. That's we can identify here, quick and easy. Now if I, instead of positive, if I see negative, then again that most negative things are in the tablet, but also we can see there is a problem with the battery. These are the words we can see on the high level. By looking at this word cloud, maybe I can identify when it comes to Kindle or tablets, there is a battery problem. That is the most challenging feature that people are facing, and those are giving negative feedbacks. Now, depending upon the level of analysis that we are performing, or depending upon the business rules or the problem statement that we are trying to identify from the data, we can choose different type of visualization. However, as I mentioned, when it comes to doing the text analytics, the first and most important chart type that I prefer is a word cloud. Based on this, we can easily identify what is the word repeated most of the time using key phrase column. Also, we can go with the bar charts and tables and show the data in the text format, or maybe we can use box and whiskers plot chart, or we can go with a scattered plot chart. It completely depends upon the requirement that we have and the problem statement that we want to identify. Now, while performing this text analytics, I will again share some best practices that we should always follow. We should always start small. What does it mean is when we are trying to perform some analysis or doing some text analytics, it should not be done in the high volume of data in the very beginning, because once you will go through the same steps that I have performed, it takes time. Whenever I'm clicking on the text analytics and waiting for detect language, it takes minutes and sometimes so many minutes to load. And if you're directly jumping with the high volume of data and pushing everything for the first time, it might take hours if you have GBs of data. So you should better start small and analyze with a smaller set of data whether your techniques or the the logic that you're trying to find out it's working or not. If it is working, go ahead and test it on the entire data set. Also, test different techniques. So you should try out different techniques like sentiment analysis, which we performed, key phrases extraction, topic labeling, to find the best way to analyze your text data. Now you can come up with your own things, your own logic to define whether it is positive, negative, and accordingly you can test it on the entire data set. Then finally, use visualization. As I mentioned, use visuals which are easy to understand, like word cloud and text data to see emerging patterns. So you should choose the visualization accordingly. Then combine with the other sources. So combine text data with other sources such as sales, marketing data to get the complete picture of your business performance. Right? So it should not be only based on the reviews. There should be so lot of source of information when it comes to text analytics of your business. You should compare and have a critical comparison between each reviews from different sources, and then we should come up with some solution. All right, guys, I hope you like the content and it would be helpful for you to perform text analytics within Power BI next time. Now, if you have any questions, please do let me know. Do let me know in the comments. I'll love to answer that. Please don't forget to like and subscribe my YouTube channel and hit the thumbs up if you like the content. If you want to contact, you can feel free to reach out me at achieversdateengineering@gmail.com. You can also follow me on the LinkedIn profile, link in the description. Thank you for watching. Keep learning. Have a great day.